the talking about it wasn't as much fun for everybody. So let's get into our just for fun segment, talking about what is the biggest surprise to you this season, and what's your biggest disappointment? Jessi, would you like to go first?
Sure. I think the biggest surprise this season for me was losing to Texas A&M, was Texas A&M beating us. I did not see that at the beginning of the season or really while we were playing or like right before we played it. So that was a huge shock for me. I also think Matt Corral getting knocked out in the second play of the game was a really big shock. So those are probably my two biggest surprises. And then disappointment, I have two. This one's not surprising. Losing the national championship was very disappointing. But the other one is the SEC losing Coach O.
I know, it's so sad. We don't get to listen to that anymore.
Hey. I'm just saying, Gene Chizik just left SEC Network. We need Coach O on SEC Network.
Yes.
The closed captioning person is going to have to work so hard.
Closed caption. Oh, man, those were the best regardless, because there was no hope. It was just kind of whatever on the screen, a bunch of nonsense. So
that's all we want, guys, at midnight when we're coming home from the bars or the games is the SEC Network recap and just seeing Coach O talk about the Kentucky-Mississippi State game. That's all I want to hear. That's all I want to see.
Absolutely. And then like yelling at somebody for being too loud in the crowd behind him, like he was, remember the time? Yeah. Remember when I think it was it during the national championship, he was doing a press conference.
He was a presser, yeah.
The guys were back there making too much noise. He's like, "Hey, try to have a press conference." And
that was awesome.
Said that like
he would
twice.
Not do well on game day. Like if they needed him to host, no.
Put him on the sideline. Put him on the sideline. Make him the new sideline reporter. Get rid of Holly Rowe. He can be the sideline reporter.
No one would understand a word.
Bitch, I heard him talking about this thing, and they said Jay Krug is ready to go. And go Tigers.
Oh, they love to eat things on the SEC Network these days.
They do.
So give him some gumbo, some fried chicken on a stick. Whatever.
Get rid of Jordan Rodgers or Tim Tebow.
Yes.
And just put like Coach O in there. That's your new segment.
Oh man, it's a great idea. I love that.
I'm just saying.
I'm into it.
I think for me, my biggest surprise might be Arkansas, maybe. Just the kind of season that they had. I think we saw hints of it last year, but man, they really played well this season. I would say either them or possibly even Mississippi State. They were a little shaky, and they were, they could have very easily had 2 more wins on their season this year too. Take away that ridiculous Memphis score with the terrible call there, and then 1 or 2 other real close ones. And man, they have a heck of a season on their hands. I'd say that's a big surprise. Biggest disappointment. I might have to go with, and this might be low-hanging fruit, but I might have to go with Connor Bazelak because I think he was highly touted as somebody who was going to continue to develop and be, a quarterback to be reckoned with, and we just never saw that. Again, we saw regression with him. Possibly might even mention Bo Nix in the same breath, although we kind of already had hints of that.
This is the Bo Nix experience.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Nauseating.
Definition
it's almost like a heart monitor. The Bo Nix experience is like a heart monitor. What it is. It's everyone's heart rates too.
Yeah, but a heart monitor is too steady. Bo Nix is not that steady.
Yeah,
it's almost like Bo Nix is like no one have like the flow of the game chart in ESPN where it's just like the probability of winning. It goes up and down. That's like how Bo Nix.
Like for each score, it's like it's like pinging off each 100%. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's probably it. I think that's probably the ones that I can think of. Matt, what do you think?
As far as biggest surprise goes, the final standings in the conference as far as who finished where. When you look at it, Tennessee finished 3rd, which I don't think anybody anticipated Tennessee to finish 3rd in the SEC East. Kentucky getting to 10 wins, which we knew that Kentucky was going to be decent this year, but I didn't think they were going to get to double digits as far as wins go. Florida finishing 6 and 7. I don't think anybody saw coming, especially didn't see them firing Mullen this year. Ole Miss having a great season, Arkansas having a great season, Mississippi State going on a heck of a run there at the end. We didn't see coming either. And then the cellar dwellers in the West, Texas A&M, Auburn, and LSU. Did not see that coming either, especially Auburn. I thought Auburn would be a little bit better. I bet they're missing the Gus Bus now. But overall, a fantastic season, I think, top to bottom, even given some of the controversies and things like that. And speaking of controversies, my biggest disappointment, if you look behind me, you can see I'm in the SEC home office because I've been spending all this time looking for Greg Sankey so I can talk to him about how we need to fix officiating in the SEC. That is the biggest disappointment this season in college football, top to bottom, is the officiating, not only in the SEC, but across the entire NCAA. It has got to get fixed. They've got to do something. There's too many games that are being screwed out of good finishes or being screwed out of whatever you want to call it. The officiating in the conference and in the country has gotten really, really bad the last couple of years. And that's not just in the college ranks. It's also endemic to the NFL as well. The NFL's run into the same problem. So something's got to break. And I understand that, you can only bark about the officials for so long. And you can only blame them for so much, but the screw ups they had this year, the Memphis, Mississippi State game, the Duke UNC game, the Tennessee Ole Miss game, the Tennessee Purdue game. That's just four examples.
Auburn Penn State game.
Right. Like there's so many bad calls this season. And I know with high def TVs and instant replay and 36,000 cameras on the field, we can see a lot more than they can. And I understand that they have a hard job, but at the same time, something's got to break. So we either got to start calling nothing or calling everything or something.
Especially in the SEC, you talk about how the high standard that the conference has, but yet it seems like the officiating isn't at the same level, right?
Nope.
So, it has been disappointing.
Blaming COVID. We're having a hiring shortage. We need more officials, better officials.
There you go.
I think putting them on the SEC payroll and making this their full-time job would go a long way towards fixing a lot of the issues we run into. Because those guys
making enough money anyway.
Right. That's exactly my point. Because those guys can spend a lot more time, doing clinics and doing like professional development, and there's so many other things they could do, at least for
contacts.
Y'all realize that when Texas and Oklahoma join us in a few years, that each school is going to be making like $75 million.
Yeah.
Profit.
So much money. That's one of the first things I thought about when they were joining. That's a lot of money joining the conference.
And not to mention the money the schools take in with tuition and everything else and licensing and all those other things.
The thing is, though, for most colleges and universities, is the football program is what pays for the other sports. The other sports do not typically finish in the green; they finish in the red at the end of the year. And so, football is really what pays for everything. People get mad about the number of scholarships and everything, but you can't compete with an 80-man roster or the money that the football program brings in. So they pay for everything. The only, at least I know on Alabama's campus, the only other sport that we have out of all 25 NCAA sports is softball that finishes in the positive. That's it.
I think for Georgia, it was like football obviously carries everything. Men's basketball, I don't know how we have a sucky men's basketball program, and gymnastics because our gym dogs are pretty awesome. But everything else
is close.
Your equestrian team's supposed to be pretty
good.
Good
You guys have a really great,
but you can tell you, man, those horses cost a lot of money.
Them horses are not cheap.
We're moving all those horses too.
Oh yeah. That's a lot of specialized care for that. Jack, do you have any biggest surprises of the season or biggest disappointment?
I do know that y'all were hearing y'all talk. So I'm going to give y'all an SEC one and a national one. So nationally, my biggest surprise was Michigan. Because what they did was amazing this year. Even though we beat them pretty good in the bowl game. I mean, their defensive coordinator was my old GA at Georgia, Mike McDonald, for 3 years. So we were all the walk-ons. We were all rooting for Mike because he was our boy, coaching us and doing. He was the head of our scout team for my first 3 years. So I was really excited to see him do well this year. He deserves it. If Dan Lanning left like he was and Kirby didn't already have Mill Muschamp, I was going to tell him, dude, go hire Mike. Because Mike went to Georgia. He is a Georgia boy. Like he will come home if you pay him the right amount of money. But he did a great job there at Michigan this year. So we'll see. And biggest national disappointment, I'd say not Carolina or not North Carolina or Clemson. Just because you're supposed to have Sam Howell. No, I hated North Carolina because my old tight end coach, John Lilly's there. He's my boy, and we all root for him. But his tight ends were the problem this year. That offense and that defense couldn't do me. When Georgia Tech scores 46 points against you, dude,
Yeah,
that's a problem. And Clemson, y'all know that first game. It was just supposed to be the heavyweight battle, and it was. But their offense was poo-poo, and it didn't get any better throughout the whole year. I mean, they should have probably lost, guys. What? 3 or 4 more games just if their defense didn't save them. Like, it was so bad. And then SEC, I'd say big surprise was Kentucky. Just the way that they had been. It's Kentucky, and then but they finally have. I think Mark Stoops might be the best coach not named Kirby or Saban in terms of what they're doing with the talent they have. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if Mark Stoops is the hottest name out of the SEC next year for a coaching job.
Great.
Kentucky's going to do everything they can to keep him, I think.
Yeah. And is Will Levis coming back next year? Y'all know? Is he still out too?
I haven't heard.
Believe so.
Him and that kid, Wandale Robinson, are both coming back. So they're going to be and Georgia plays them at Kentucky, and we have not played well at Kentucky in years. So I am very nervous about that game next year.
You better hope it's not a night game.
And we play in Starkville versus the Leach Machine, which is scary. So I think Kentucky they're a solid team, man. They're not the Kentucky we knew growing up, And then disappointment. I mean, how can you not say Florida? You're Florida, man. How are you? Or Auburn, both. Like Auburn down the stretch was, man. I hate it because Coach Bobo was my OC there, and I thought they were kind of premature to get rid of him that quick. But I don't think that coach mixes well there. I think when they hired Harsin, I was like, really? I don't think he's going to last there.
I didn't understand that hire to begin with.
You get your butt beat by Bama and T-Town this year. They're gonna get rid of you.
Oh yeah.
And then I gotta give a shout out to, as much as I hate to say it, Carolina. I mean, what Beamer and them did, that dude should have been 4-8 and they almost were a few times. But
yeah,
I think with Spencer Rattler next year, I don't know how good they're gonna be. It's gonna be interesting to watch though. They got some buzz around.
Yeah.
If Rattler was
they're buzzing.
like Carolina might be okay, but Rattler being there, we'll see. Georgia plays at Carolina next year. That's always a rowdy place. I plan to never go into Williams-Brice ever again because that place is the hottest place in the world in September. It's horrible. I've been there enough growing up for games and everything, so I'll watch that gladly from my lake house and be a happy man in air conditioning. I mean, so we'll see. That'll be an interesting game. Then Florida, Sanford.
Right.
Stanford.
But by the way, I do want to point out that nobody said Josh Heupel, and I'm a little offended. I'm just saying.
It was a great.
I forgot about them. You're right, Matt. I think Tennessee down the stretch was the opposite of Auburn. They were, and with Hendon Hooker coming back, they're going to go in the portal again.
Oh, we already picked up that wide receiver out of Wyoming who's supposed to come in and immediately start throwing, being a weapon. So
I'm interested to see just how, because I think their downfall obviously wasn't their offense near the end of the year once they got their groove and learned the thing. I'm interested to see where their defense goes next year. Yeah. How do you, because as great as it is, the blessing and curse of that offense is as fast paced they are and they're scoring, it's great. But when you're not scoring and your defense is getting dogged and you go out there and do it again, it's like, even if you're scoring fast, your defense is like, dude, calm down. We need some break. So I'm interested to see how they do next year. Now, having a whole season, not COVID, and, guys are obviously conditioned now on that running offense, it's going to be interesting to see what Tennessee does next year. Because it sounded like, you know way more about Tennessee than I do. I think they put way more emphasis on portal for Josh's offense. And I think this next year, their defense needs to be like, all right, man, because I guarantee you, we and Bama have already had 5 guys today enter the portal. And I know from my,
there are a couple Tennessee guys that have announced, but they were no starters, not like it was 2 years ago.
And I have a couple of really good friends and buddies that are at work at UJ Sports, the Rivals website, that give me some good info, sometimes beforehand. I can guarantee you we're going to have some guys in the portal or, but, y'all seen the portal is like totally overbooked. So there's going to be plenty of people out there if you want to go get one, but is it going to be the right fit for your place? And are they going to be the right fit, not only physically and where they're at? Are they hurt? Are they transferring because they're hurt all the time? Are they transferring because they just don't play? They want to be homesick. Right. But there are going to be a lot of guys that are going to be like let's say, we had a cornerback, Jalen Kimber, go in the portal today. He had a hurt shoulder right here. Let's say he goes in the portal, tries to look for somewhere, nowhere really fits for him or likes that's like really worth going to. And then he comes back to Georgia and they say, hey man, we already got your spot filled.
Right.
Because, Kirby ain't waiting for nobody. He'll wait, but like, if you're a backup cornerback for 2 years and you haven't been starting, why is he going to waste a scholarship on you, just a spot open, and he can go get a new, defensive end or linebacker?
Right.
Yeah, the portal is going to be a problem, guys. There's going to be a lot of student athletes across all sports that are going to be looking and aren't going to have a home to come back to. They're going to be essentially out of a job.
Right. Unless you're Tank Bigsby.
Yeah. No, believe me, people will make space for some people.
They were glad to keep him.
More often than not, the majority of these kids, or the most thing that's going to happen is a lot of them are just going to go to schools that aren't that big of a deal, or they're going to go play, but it's like, you're really getting better for the league there, or are you just trying to play, or like, are you going to we had a receiver, Matt Landers, Wes knows, the guy that I couldn't stand, Matt Landers. He was horrible, but he went to Toledo. Like,
yeah.
Why you went to Toledo? Or it's like, is that really your best place that you can go to? Or is it just because, guys, like I said, the portal is that stocked of people and there's no spaces for enough people? It's insane.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, speaking of portal, you just jogged a memory. Like, how many places has Demetrius Robertson played at? Remember when he came to us from Cal, right? And then obviously he's playing with Auburn this year. And I don't know if he's had other stops in between, but I just remember seeing him this year and be like, oh, yeah, he used to play for us.
Hey, man.
That's interesting.
He didn't really – hey, man. He was taking up A.D. Mitchell's spot because A.D. Mitchell was a true freshman. So
right.
Good riddance, Demetrius. You were sitting at home with an Auburn jersey on, really thinking about your poor life choices, right, Jessi?
He never really seemed to gel with the offense anyway. He had a couple of big plays, but never what people expected. People expected him with his speed to really stretch the field and be a weapon.
So slow.
And it
it's so slow.
Never worked out. Yeah.
He wasn't even hurt.
Right. Right. All right.